What up, guys? Yeah, we got another holiday beer coming at you. This one, it is Santa's Little Helper. It is an Imperial Stout with vanilla, coffee, and cacao. And it is brewed and bottled by Port Brewing Company out of San Marcos, California. I don't know if I've had anything from Port Brewing Company before, but an Imperial Stout with vanilla, coffee, and cacao sounds pretty good. So, and it is a robust 9.9% ABV. So, we'll see how that all works out. But let's crack it open, get it pouring. And I am still looking for that, like, ultimate Christmas beer. Ooh, this pours thick. This is a very thick pouring beer. But yeah, I'm still looking for that, like, ultimate Christmas ale. I just haven't got my hands on it yet. I remember ages ago, probably about 15 years ago, me and a buddy and his wife, we would go to Old Chicago. The place that at the time was the only real place you could go to as a restaurant that had more than like a dozen beers. And they always had their 110 beers from around the world and, you know, craft beers. Craft beer wasn't really a huge thing 15 years ago. You know, you had stuff around, but it was mostly predominantly imports. And they always had, you know, like you drink like a certain number of beers and get like rewards and all that stuff. So there's something about this bottle where I feel like the neck is tilted strange. It's like, you know, when you see a picture frame and it's off just the hair and you're like, is that off? Yeah, I feel like something's up with that bottle. Anyways, but yeah, so we would go to Old Chicago, and our favorite tour, they did like mini tours where you do like 10 beers during like a given month. And the winter tour was always my favorite. It was really our favorite because, one, the swag was better, but the beer selection, it was all over the place. And remember, there's one called a winter cask ale. It tasted like almost like a cream soda kind of thing. It had that very strong vanilla, aged. It was whatever. And, you know, we loved the bottle, whatever. Could never really figure out who made it. You know, there was a brewing company label stuck to it, but we'd never heard of it. The next year they came out with a label, and it was actually by Michelob. It turns out it was one of those beers back in the day, if you guys remember this, where Budweiser would like fake craft beers. They wouldn't even put nothing about Budweiser on it. They'd almost like make up a brewery and label it as a craft beer, and then underprice it by like a quarter from all the other craft beers on the shelves. And they ended up being like sued for, you know, you're not actually a craft brewery, whatever. So they had to like throw it under the Michelob. But at the time, I really enjoyed it. Of course, I was looking at ratings of it now on Beer Advocate, and it was not that great. But I feel like that was one of those beers I probably got negged for being a Michelob. But I don't know, maybe it really wasn't that great at the time. But I enjoyed it. Long story short, I really liked those holiday beers back in the day. I haven't really found that same kind of flavor now. It feels like they're moving more from the spiced realm of beer into the more of the barrel-aged kind of thing, like bourbon barrel-aged. So I guess it's just the evolution of beer. So, but I'm looking for my favorite that kind of like remind me of those old classics that I enjoyed from like 15 years ago. But anyways, let's see if this one does it with this Imperial Stout, vanilla, coffee, cacao. Gotta class it up and not just say chocolate. But alright, let's get into the review and get into the smell. Bit of maltiness. The smell is not heavy at all. Very slight on the aroma. Almost like a mild coffee bean that might have a subtle, like kind of like a chocolatey glaze on it, but it hasn't really been heavily roasted, so it's not super pungent. It's just a little bit, just slight. I feel like you can definitely smell the higher ABV. I don't know if I would have guessed about 10, but I would have guessed higher. The more it's opening up, I am starting to get a bit of like a toastedness. Yeah, like that malted toasty kind of thing going on. I just had that Leinenkugel's vanilla porter, and this almost smells like what that wanted to be, but failed miserably at. I like that the aroma is almost muted because it's really leaving me guessing, like, I think this could be interesting, but I'm not really sure. It's intriguing. It's a little mystery, you know. So I'm interested. It is a thick pour. You can't really see it at all, but it is almost a little syrupy. So I'm gonna recommend it on Aroma. I think it's interesting, but let's get into the taste. Oh wow! I was not anticipating the taste so up front. Normally, you get kind of like a maltiness, and it kind of needs to like build up in your mouth. This one it almost punched into my sinuses, and there's no carbonation, and it still almost did that. I was not ready for that. Very heavy on the maltiness. It's almost like a chalky maltiness. A dab of smoke on the tip of your tongue. Yeah, very, very smoky malty. But I gotta admit, again, I'm not getting much of the vanilla. Maybe a very subtle hint, but you really have to fight through this. The maltiness is thick. It's like if you're outside on a super humid day and it's not really raining, but it's like you're walking through moisture. You almost have to do that to get to the little bit of vanilla. You have to like walk through this heavy maltiness. It's thick. It's like, it might be one of the more just thick maltiness that I've had. It's not rough though. It's a smoother maltiness. Like I don't have like that serrated edge on the side of my tongue, but it is heavy. It's a little more heavy than me personally I would like. But if you are a heavy malty fan, absolutely go for this. It is like thick. Yeah, it's thick malty. But there's just a dab of vanilla. There's almost like an orange peel vanilla thing going on. Kind of like, I don't know if they still make those chocolates that shape like an orange, and you like crack it and you could like pick out the like. They look like orange pieces, and sometimes it'd be like an orange like creamsicle. There's almost just a dab of that orangey vanilla thing. If you can fight through the maltiness, I think this is one you definitely probably want to serve warmer. I think chill, if you serve it cold, it's going to almost amplify that thick maltiness to it. I'm not getting a lot of the coffee. It could be I'm just so distracted by that smoky, malty, heavy Imperial thing going on. It could be there. But I think it's just very hard for me to fight through everything else that's going on. Again, it's a little too thick for me. And thick, just not. Yeah, I mean, even the liquid is thicker. This is probably one of the thicker beers that I've had before. I'm gonna have to look up and see what the difference between an Imperial Stout and just like a porter is. Sometimes I feel like it's just like, I'll just call it stout. But I mean, it is 10% ABV. Yeah, man. It's not. For me, I think it's just too thick to really enjoy. I almost want to like pour it over some ice cream to kind of break up some of it. But for me, it's too overpowering without any other like noticeable flavors going on. They might have had vanilla, coffee, and cacao in there when they made it, and you can pick up some just dark, unsweetened chocolate. You can pick up some of those notes. Again, I feel like the vanilla is not really all that present. I wish they would have added just a hair more sweetened element to the chocolate to kind of lift it up a little bit. You don't have to like make it sweet, like super sweet, but just a dab to open it up a little bit. But it's not. I'm gonna give it a half. It's not my kind of thing. This is not my thing. But if you're really into that, to that kind of, I mean, it's definitely. You definitely get that kind of almost creamy stout thing going on, but it's the smoky maltiness is so. It's almost like you poured a regular stout and then you filled up the whole rest of the top with like Starbucks whipped cream, but that whipped cream was actually just malty, heavy malt. That's almost like what it is. So if that sounds fantastic to you, give this a try. If not, stay clear. I had the receipt. I think I threw it away. Anyways, so I'll give it a half. But all right, next category is value for price. I thought I was planning on keeping the receipt for a reason, but I did not. But this was a little more expensive. This was like $4. And for me, that's I'm not interested in paying another $4 for this thing. So for me, I'm not like $4 is just tipping the scale too much for a beer I'm not really gonna ever drink again. So I'm not gonna recommend it on value for price. If this really sounds like you're gonna then go for it. I think if they. I don't remember if it was a 4-pack or a 6-pack that was sold it. I think it was a 4-pack, but I could be wrong. But still, it was like somewhere between $3.99 and $4.99 for the single. That's more than for a beer that I'm not really interested in. So I'm not going to recommend it for value price for me. Next category is distinction. How distinct is it? And I mean, I feel like the flavors it's proclaiming aren't all that present. If vanilla is the first thing you're talking about, I want to easily be able to taste it. And I'm not. Like, I don't want to have to, like swim through this for an hour before I really get any flavor of that vanilla, which like, just don't tell me that there's vanilla in it, because, I mean, when you're slapping it right on the front of the label, like, I can't not see that. And so you're obviously using that as a selling point. You want the people buying it to know there's vanilla. Like, if you fill it into the little blurb on the back, fine. It's just kind of like, okay, this is the tasting notes to expect. But when you're putting it on the front, you're expecting people to buy it because that's in there. And so you should really make it more pronounced. I'm really not picking that up. And so it's a bit of a failure on my perspective that it doesn't have to be like bang me over the head vanilla, but it should at least be easy, like somewhat easy to detect. And it's really not. I don't know if it's just the Imperial element that kind of squashes everything, all the other flavors down, but I feel like the vanilla needs to be more pronounced. I am getting some of that chocolatey kind of thing. Coffee, I guess. But, I mean, you could kind of say coffee with any stout, let's be honest. But it's that vanilla that I'm not really getting. And there's other than it being an Imperial, there's not much that's like distinct about it. So, I'm not going to really recommend that distinction. It's just, other than it, being thick, heavier, 10% ABV, it's not a bad beer. I just feel like, don't tell me all these things if you're not going to, like, deliver on it. It's like a pizza place said 30 minutes or less, and they show up in an hour and a half. It's like, don't market it 30 minutes. So, I'm just not going to recommend distinction. Drinkability, it's a 10% ABV beer. Kind of like, how drinkable are you looking? Do you want your 10% ABV to be? I feel like the smoother around the edges maltiness is beneficial. Sometimes it's a little harsh. Like when I was doing a lot of those Oktoberfests, I don't know if they were just rushed. I don't know what all goes into that process. But a lot of those were really kind of like I could feel it inside my tongue, and I wasn't digging that. And so I feel like for basically 10%, it's not bad for drinkability. I think you could do well with it. And let's face it, if you drank 2 of these, that's 20, you'd have to drink like 5 regular Budweisers to match 2 of these. So if you're trying to get a leg up on everybody, well, you got it. So it's not bad. It's not bad. So I will recommend it for drinkability for a 10% ABV beer. So you got that. Last category is, would I buy it again? It's just not my thing. Like, it's not what I'm looking for. It doesn't have the seasonal flavors. Like, I don't really see what makes it a Christmas thing. I mean, when you're throwing Santa's Little Helper in it, I want some of those holiday things, and you're not giving it to me. And I feel like the vanilla is being oversold. So I have no interest in buying it again, but if how I described it sounds, if you like that kind of heavier maltiness, all means, go for it. But so that's my review of Santa's Little Helper out of Port Brewing Company from San Marcos, California. They do have a little story on the back. In case this is not available in your area, I will read the story. It is, each year Santa works up that famous list. He takes notes on who's been naughty and who's been nice. To the nice people, he brings good cheer. For the people who have been anything but nice, he loads up on big fat lumps of coal. Like, do you really need to put that on the beer? We know the story. You don't have to feed us a paragraph on what Santa does. If we're an adult, we're drinking this, we are familiar with the story of Santa Claus. I feel like if I was the editor, scratch that top paragraph. Not necessary. Thankfully, Santa knows this is one seriously nice beer. Brewed once a year since it was first released in 1997, Santa's Little Helper has been our annual insurance policy against lumps of coal in our stockings. Each year, we look forward to the release of this beer, which signals the impending arrival of the jolly old fat man and his merry band of elves. Santa's Little Helper Imperial Stout is as black as Christmas Eve with a decidedly smooth finish, we know you'll find it the perfect companion to chestnuts roasting by an open fire paired with that lump of coal you'll be receiving. So you're saying I've been bad? Screw you, man. Don't judge me. See, as little helpers judging me. Yeah. So that blurb basically just told you what Santa Claus was, in case I don't know, you're living in a fallout shelter by yourself for the last for forever. So that gave me nothing. But anyways, yes, that was the review. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. And just keep it right here. I'm going to try to do as many of these winter beers up through Christmas. And, just see how things go. But anyways, yeah, so for myself and for Santa's Little Helper by Port Brewing Company, take it easy.